Hey, boys. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie.
How are you?
How are you? I'm so excited this morning. I have this brand new business idea, and I wanted to run it past you guys before we started. I'm very excited.
Okay, I've got one too. So can we both pitch? You go ahead. You go first.
Okay, all right. My idea is I'm going to combine alphabet and bean soup and call it Let Her Rip.
Mine, Anthony, is I'm gonna do an ATM that just does coins. That just gives out coins. I don't know why it doesn't exist so far. Like, it just makes sense.
I think mine was Stephanie. You have to judge the dad joke.
Come on, it just makes sense.
Listen, I had a joke about trickle-down economics, but 99% of you guys wouldn't get it. So I'll just judge your... So I think I gotta say, Anthony wins this round. I almost choked when I.
That's the goal. Makes a spit take is the best. Is the best critique of a dad joke.
That is
okay. Listen.
Roll.
Fate has brought us together today as the Three Musketeers, as the trio. We had a guest who unfortunately had some family emergencies come up. So you guys are going to be blessed with all three of us today. And we are going to riff on a topic by ourselves. And hopefully we all have something interesting to say about it. But what do you think, you guys? Are you ready to go?
Let her rip.
I don't know. Like, we could have canceled the episode, but it just makes sense.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Very well done.
Hey, guys, what if your biggest launch obstacle was your own mind? Ooh. Here's a shocking stat. 73% of successful founders launched before feeling ready. That's from Startup Genome in 2024. Buffer's John Gascoigne launched with just 2 social media accounts. Timing psychology trumped market data. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about determining market readiness. I'm your host, Stephanie Hayes, and with me today are my wonderful co-hosts, Chris Franks and Anthony Franco. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hi, Stephanie.
So let's dive into it. Why do founders feel paralyzed by timing decisions when the market is actually ready? So what do you guys got? What have you guys got in terms of stories or, experiences? What is it that, gets us stuck?
Every one of my companies so far, launched with bad market timing. I'm still trying to get the timing right, Anthony. I mean, you ever got it right? You got it right with effective. That was a good timing.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to get it right and also get it wrong. Like, so I've been able to do both. And timing, essentially though, timing is kind of like planning for the right timing is kind of like planning to get lucky.
Right.
I mean, how do you? So what I really want to get to in this show, I think, is to talk about. Okay, so besides giving advice to founders that it's better to be lucky than good,
just be lucky. Just
get lucky. That's it.
Come on.
So practically speaking, how do we talk about timing?
Well, I'm gonna do a hot take on this.
Great.
I don't think that there is luck. I don't think that there is, necessarily the perfect timing, right? And unless like edge cases, right? Every now and then you happen to open a new facility, making face masks, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits, right? Like, okay, every now and then we fall into some luck that way. But I think like if you are a reasonably intelligent individual and you are going to invest in starting up companies because hopefully you have already recognized a need, right? So I would argue that timing is far less important than your ability to understand your audience and your messaging. And I just personally think you can sell anything to anyone if you get the messaging right and you get the positioning right. Argue.
So here's where I agree and disagree. So I agree in the sense of depending on what size and scale of the business that you're trying to build. So if you want to go out and build a company and you're fine with a niche level company, but let's for a moment assume that we want to together, the three of us are co-founders and we want to build a very high scale VC backed startup, right? And so we want to go rocket ship. We know the failure rates. We know everything about it. However, that's really the scale of business we want to do. We want to go out and raise venture capital. We want to go to that. Timing is everything.
It's everything. I agree with you, Chris.
Everything.
Yeah.
But timing how? Timing how? Timing market timing or timing?
Yeah, it's a terrific question. And I'll go the first one, which is the negative one. And then Anthony, you can talk about the actual timing of market and demand, which is VCs. If you're trying to raise VC money, what's happening in the macro VC market matters dramatically. That may or may not align with the actual market. What VCs are doing is oftentimes counter-cyclical to what's happening in the macro economy. Right now, VCs are still pretty much on the sidelines. If you have an awesome idea with awesome trajectory, with a market that is growing and it's expanding and this is the opportunity, you're still pretty much out of luck. Like it's going to be really hard for you to go raise money. You still can, but it's very difficult. And so timing around what's happening in the VC market and really just the capital markets in general does matter, Anthony. But you can talk to actual like real stuff, Anthony, like real market trajectory.
Are we making soup though? What are we making?
No soup for you.
ATMs just with.
Yeah, so there's definitely like if you're trying to raise money, timing is really critical. Or if you're trying to exit your business, timing can be very, very critical. But when you're starting a business where you're not going to seek VC capital, how important is timing? And I think Chris, you kind of nailed it. It's like if you want to start a services business in your neighborhood, and you're a leaf blower and it's December in Maine, it's probably bad timing.
I thought you were going to say Canada for a second. Yes, we're bringing out the Canada jokes early.
but I mean that's fairly obvious. There is a couple of things. So the thing that's popping into my head on timing is, one, is the market mature enough for your new idea? Are they ready to receive it? If you're trying to launch something that is so far out there, like it's revolutionary, and you're asking your potential customers to take on the cognitive load of understanding what the hell it is that you're going to do, your timing's against you. Also, if the technology's not quite there, and you want to launch something where there needs to be this huge innovation in tech or infrastructure or distribution in order to make it work, you're probably launching too early. When those things converge, though, the example that I'm thinking of is grocery delivery. How many grocery delivery startups were there before Instacart actually became a thing here in the US? And now there's plenty of competitors. It was billions of dollars spent, and it was because the infrastructure wasn't there, the integrations weren't there, and the gig economy wasn't really a thing yet. So I think they were just too early. Stephanie, what do you think?
Okay. But how did it get there? aren't those early adopter, aren't those early startups what actually creates the conditions for timing? So if there was no demand for the infrastructure to support a gig economy, yeah, those early guys, they're going to struggle for sure. But how do we get started then? So when there was they were the brave ones who stepped forward and said, we're going to prove the model, right? We're going to prove that there's demand for this. And they probably struggled because the infrastructure wasn't there, blah, blah, blah. But they opened up the market for others. So if everybody just waited until the market was mature, we wouldn't have any innovation, and we wouldn't set the conditions for those folks who come in as fast followers.
Well, I think Instacart became a thing because Uber was already a thing, and DoorDash was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those two companies kind of set the stage for Instacart, because one, the gig economy needed to be a thing, right? So you needed to be able to have, instead of buying your own trucks and delivering groceries, you needed people willing to do it as a side hustle. And so that's essentially what Instacart does, right? They just take the Uber model and added grocery shopping to it. And then DoorDash, I think the DoorDash gave the grocery stores the example to use on why they should allow a third-party vendor to come in and shop in their store. So I do think the other companies were just too early. It required too much of a heavy lift, both on the delivery side and on the integration into stores. It was just too much, too fast, too soon. Timing was just not right. Chris, what do you think?
So what you're hitting on, and this is a reason why I think that there's been so many amazing technology companies that have been launched, or companies that have been in this high growth. It's because the technology is changing to the degree to create something that is now possible that was not possible before. And so if you look at, as you start to examine, and I think, Stephanie, this is where it gets into the heart of this conversation, is what factors need to exist for this market to start to be really interesting. And usually what happens is there's some fundamental change that happens that starts to create a big market demand or need within a space. And so, or something technology changes that makes it possible. So in your case, Anthony, you're talking about a company where technology was advancing, where there was actually employees or people that they could hire, and the gig economy was advancing. All those concentric circles were closing in on one another. And suddenly that there was this opportunity. Now, the best founders I know, Stephanie, the smartest people I know, are the ones that are just aware of what are the factors that could hurt or help their idea. And they're looking to see when they're coming together that can create this moment in time that is actually creating a big opportunity. Agree or disagree, Stephanie?
Well, of course. I mean, I agree with that analysis. I did my post-grad work in innovation management, right? And so for me, I keep thinking about who, the guys who set the stage, the Ubers. At some point in time, somebody said there's no market readiness for what you're trying to create, right? So I do think that there's still value in stepping into a market before it's ready, because you are so convicted about where this is going to go, right? I want to shift topic.
You don't need to talk about Anthony's conviction, Stephanie. I mean, he, was
a stretch.
His time.
Stretch.
Yeah. He did his time. He still wears orange. It's all good, right?
Looks great on him, though.
Yeah,
by the way, Anthony, you're looking fresh.
You woke me up to run to the podcast. I apologize.
I didn't shave this morning either. It's all okay. I want to shift gears for a second. So here's something that I see a lot with these small business owners or these founders. When does perfectionism clash with momentum? And what do you do about that? Like, how do you watch for that?
I think that's really probably because we say that to get this right, you have to look at the market forces and you have to launch at the right time, et cetera. Typically, what we see with founders is that they don't launch when the time is right because they don't feel like their product is ready. They don't feel like the service is ready, or they feel like the market's ready, et cetera. It is an incredibly difficult thing to follow the advice of, I don't think this one's Guy Kawasaki. I think this is Reid Hoffman, where he says, if you're not embarrassed by your product, then you've launched too late. That's a very easy thing to say. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And I think we all suffer from this, Anthony. We don't want to launch something that's terrible. Our ego gets tied up in this. And so we end up holding on to this idea, waiting longer. And in some cases, you see companies that fully run out of money before they actually go live because their product doesn't have that one feature.
I don't think it's because the product doesn't have one feature. I think that's a misnomer. I think that's incorrect. I mean, let's go back to Uber again. Uber, the reason why the timing for Uber was so critical was, one, how painful was it to hail a cab in San Francisco? It was really painful to find a cab. And so the user pain was high enough where people were willing to try to figure it out, one. And two, they did it in a way where they just launched, right? So they didn't wait for drivers. They basically took black cars and gave them a new revenue stream. So they were solving a distribution problem for the black car drivers. They were solving a pain point that cabs were difficult to hail. And if they had done it, quote, perfectly, they would have asked permission from the city to do it, which would have killed the business.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
totally. I used to work, I was the IT manager for the Port Authority here. And so I have this background in like transportation and logistics and international shipping, weirdly enough. But when the cabs were were regulated by the city and the airport authority. And when Uber first tried to get into Vancouver, there was mass protest by the cab companies because they saw it as competition, obviously. So we were actually a laggard when it came to getting Uber here. In fact, I think it was actually fairly recently that we got Uber here. And I think what that speaks to, like, to your point, is that the things that can delay or prevent readiness, so to speak, are not necessarily the market, right? Like it could very well be something other than the market, like regulatory stuff we didn't watch for, or, who knows? So how do we keep moving? How does an Uber like have an idea and keep moving? Like, this is an innovation conversation, right? And when you go to write a business plan, I'm just in the middle of writing one right now for a startup, and when you go to write a business plan, you're trying to present like the most attractive possibility for this company. And do you think most people kind of get stuck there because they're like, I can't prove that there's a model right now. I can't prove that there's a market right now, but I can surely prove that there's a issue, that there's a problem I want to solve.
You can prove that there's a market. You can prove that there's ways to prove that there's a market before you actually get somebody to open their wallet. It could be something as easy as asking for somebody's email address. Like, you present the problem and ask for somebody's email address to tell them about it when you launch. There's ways to validate the market early on. There absolutely is. Beyond just asking your mom.
I was going to say, this is where in our generation of founders, every single pitch deck I saw for about 15 years had some study quoting that this market was going to be a $17 billion market in just 3 years. And if I could just capture 1% of the market,
yeah,
that would just be incredible. I think that what you're saying, Stephanie, and this is, I think, the most important part, is in this case, the market was a bunch of very, very painful experiences for people. And so you didn't necessarily have to prove that people were doing that, because it was just a parallel to something people were already spending money on. If we're saying Uber, I think the harder case is if it's a brand new novel concept where it's very hard to say there is no real parallel here. I can't even make an analogy to another company. And in that case, Anthony, you should probably go prove that people are willing to do that through other means other than just trying to do that. And if you do want to raise money, almost anybody that wants to give you capital is going to ask you to give them some sort of a proof point that people will do this. So people are willing to engage.
Yeah. Going back to that analogy we started to use, which is Uber, like that was relatively easy to prove that it was going to be a business, because you needed an app that you built in a week and launch it just in San Francisco. And you could make, you could do it over, you could literally do it over email and text message. You didn't even need an app. So there's ways you can prove a business model out and demand without having to go through the incredible weight of building an infrastructure to do it.
Well, okay, but let's go back to this concept of perfectionism, sort of. I actually think that the killer advantage of like an Uber was not necessarily getting access to cars, but the fact that I don't have to pay when I'm sitting there. To me, that was like the most painful part about taking a cab, was that I had to give them my card and come up with money and have the money available and all of that sort of thing. So this is what happens with innovation, is that we go about to solve a problem and we think we're going to solve it in one way, but actually the thing that draws the market forward to our and gets people excited about what we're doing might be something totally else, which is fine, and that's great as long as you're listening, right? So when we try to perfect everything and we try to follow the plan, we might be missing something big, right?
Yeah. For me, the best analogy that I use on this is that I having grown up in Texas, I spent my last years of high school in California, and I tried to learn how to surf. I was okay at it. I ended up being able to surf a little bit, but I got to know some of the really great surfers that were in my high school and in my town, and they could always see the wave before I could. They were really, really experienced about looking out and seeing something in the water that I couldn't see. So I was chasing a wave with 4 other guys that were all beginners, and we were guys and gals, because there's some terrific female surfers out there too. But we were going and trying to catch a wave that everybody else was on, that was already obvious. The best surfers could look out and see something in the water, and they would swim to a place and catch a wave that I didn't see coming. And that analogy of surfing, I think, is a really good one, because there's 2 things that are absolutely fundamentally true in this business, which is market rules all. Despite the fact that we constantly as founders believe that we can create reality, that we can change the way that things that are perceived, the market gets to decide whether or not your company or idea exists. The art of being able to find that next wave is the heart of this conversation. And it's not easy, and it takes experience. And I think we've hit on several of the key factors. Number one, what technology is changing? Can you be aware? Can you not be so sunk cost into your initial idea that, like Uber, that you couldn't then pivot into being a different idea? I mean, I think those are the ideas that come into my mind, but I'm interested to hear, if we use that analogy, what are those factors where the best entrepreneurs can see a wave where the rest of us don't?
Yeah. How do you develop that skill, right? Like that's and I agree with you, that is a very, very unique and extremely valuable, because some of those guys who had this vision, women too, that could see, like, they were so convicted about the fact that this was going to be a thing. And those are the people that pull a business along and are going to keep going regardless of, market conditions or whatever happens. But how do you develop that skill as a founder?
I think this is kind of a self-owned, because I do it the exact opposite way. But I really think that I have a lot of respect for founders that define the market before the product. I think that's what you have to do. You have to define the market and the pain. And
Yeah.
how are you going to go to market
Yeah.
before you define, or at least before you finalize what the product needs to look like? And I think that's a part of, so when you're defining a market, not only are you looking at the market now, but where do you think it's going to be in 5 years? And if you have the mental discipline to really force yourself to believe in the market before your product, I think you have now what you have to worry about is when you say the market's going to be there in 5 years, is it really 10? and you have to really plan it out that way. But defining the market is, I think, the most critical thing.
But you just hit on the major factor within that, Anthony, which is if you're going to do that, if you're going to go out and, in my analogy here, you're going to paddle to a different part of the break because you see something, you might be sitting there for a while and it might get cold and it might get lonely. And I don't know that this analogy is going to hold here, but it's going to be real hard to keep money, right? You're going to have to stay alive for a long time. And I think a lot of those people that are incredibly visionary people, they run out of money before that wave hits. Stephanie, what do you think?
Okay, but this comes back to my initial maybe silly assertion is that marketing and messaging plays a huge role. So if you're a founder that has the vision, you better have someone with you that can drum up the interest and convince a whole pile of people that your vision is the vision for the future, right? So if you can build that messaging and that momentum while you're trying to, create the market, while you're trying to, get to the place where this has, full adoption, you can, right? Like, think about how many of these really interesting, we talked about this on another show, right? How many of these really fascinating, creative ways have people built the desire and built the demand before perhaps the infrastructure was ready? And I think it happens all the time.
There's a very classic story about this, to your point, Stephanie. So probably I would say a half of our audience has never heard of the company AOL. But for those of the
if that sound came on, the three of us would just like talk about Pavlovian response,
right?
But there was a point in AOL's history when they were really close to running out of money, and they had a ton of user complaints about how slow AOL was. So they had like, I don't know, I'm going to get the number wrong, but they had like $1 million or $2 million left in the bank. And they had a decision to make. Should we put that $2 million in answering customer demand on making the service better? Instead, the CEO decided to put the $2 million in an advertising campaign saying that they made the service better, which then funded the huge customer demand uptick, funded the rebuild of their infrastructure. Was he wrong?
I'll give it to you, Stephanie. I'll let you answer the hard question first. Yeah.
Do you remember when Verizon bought AOL? Remember all the tweets that went out? It was so entertaining. I remember the one that said, "Not to be outdone, Comcast buys GeoCities." We're old.
There's two factors at play here, Anthony, which is, so there was a problem. That was just a technical problem that they needed to overcome. There was already proven market demand there, right? I think that the main key, and this is if you're lonely in this market and you're running out of money and has that problem, is it as strong as you initially believed it to be? And has somebody else been able to solve it? Like, because there are times when you go out and be like, I'm the person that's going to solve this problem. I could see this problem. Somebody just absolutely toasts you, or a big guy. In today's day and age, Google launches something with their AI that completely destroys your business, right? That's real. But if you're still out there lonely, nobody has solved the problem, and you're still waiting, the question that you have to ask is this problem still acute? Is it still exist? Are people really genuinely willing to spend money on solving this problem? I think that can still be, it's easier said than done, Stephanie. Like, it's hard. It's hard to do that.
So I agree. And I think there's something to be said also for having a diverse enough business model that you can ride it out. You are absolutely convicted. I've said convicted like 4 times in this episode. You are absolutely convicted that this is going to happen. Maybe like we just need more infrastructure or whatever. So how do you build a business model that still can sustain you in the meantime? So the very first startup I worked for right out of university, I was doing academic research for this startup inside of the like the startup community in the academic world, right? So they were up in the university and what have you. And we were doing we had built a software product that leveraged the internet. Like, I'm old, right? So it leveraged the internet for K to 12. This was 1996, 7, somewhere around there. And we were absolutely certain about how good this was going to be, right? It was going to be project-based learning. It was going to be like all of this collaborative stuff, blah, blah, blah. But we couldn't freaking sell it because there was no infrastructure inside of this. Like, this was right when school districts were starting to be like, internet, that's interesting. I happened to work for the Ministry of Education at the same time too, which was where in the project that was putting internet into the school districts. So we had a product that was like leveraging the technology, but the technology wasn't pervasive enough yet, wasn't fast enough yet. So people always had like, it was very slow, that sort of thing. So we could have died because we weren't there. We were there too early. But what we did is we built like sort of an adjacent offering that could be used and could be leveraged inside of the districts while we were waiting for the technology to be like the infrastructure to be available and ready and performant. What we ended up doing is doing a reverse takeover of another company that had built a software product that was similar to ours. And then we just grew and grew and grew, and they ended up being acquired by OpenText. So that business survived because we created another opportunity for ourselves that would meet people where they were and where they could function until the infrastructure was available and ready for us to be able to really leverage what we had built.
Let me strike on something too, Stephanie, to add to that. And I want to say this and criticize some founders. Like, a lot of founders believe that their initial idea is the idea that that's the hill they need to die on, and they all of a sudden get tunnel vision and they lose their opportunity radar. And so really timing, what's the old phrase? Luck is hard work meets opportunity. But if you don't recognize the opportunity, you're going to miss out on the timing. So you need to constantly try to figure out and look for ways that you can make money that may be sideways to the way you thought you would make money initially. You have to constantly have, I keep saying it, opportunity radar. You have to always look like, oh, there's something here, I'm going to go chase that. And now, can that divert you from your goal? Yes. But when you, to your point, Stephanie, the only way to survive is with revenue. So if you have to earn revenue just to survive so that you can live to fight another day on the bigger vision, then go do that.
Yeah.
The best story, and you guys are startup nerds like I am, so you'll know this story, but maybe some people don't, which is Airbnb, famously Y Combinator company. They felt like that there was something there, again, adjacent to hotels. This is when this whole idea of having, crowdsourced supply was coming into play. But the guys ran out of money, or were very close to running out of money, but they had some creative skills. So this has to do with Denver, Anthony, you know the story, where the Airbnb guys came to Denver during the Democratic National Convention and sold a cereal box that they just took the paper off of the cereal box. I believe it was like Cheerios, and reskinned it with Obama O's. And they printed enough of them. And I think, classically, I don't know exactly how much money they had, but they basically spent their last money or even put this on credit cards to be able to do this, to come and earn enough money in Denver selling Obama O's during the Democratic National Convention to go fund their startup. Now, do I recommend that for everybody? No.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I would say my question would be, well, could you do a service alongside your main idea? So you're staying right there. But they had already proven the fact they were demand. It was just a matter of getting enough of this stuff moving and getting kind of that, classically the flywheel analogy going. But that's a great example of what you're saying, Anthony. The problem still existed. They were there. They were early. They just figured out a way to stay alive long enough. And I think that's the other principle.
Survive. That's
survival,
key.
right?
Survive.
How do you survive long enough for that demand to actually catch up? And also, then the other hard part of this conversation, Stephanie, is how do you realize that you survived, and that wave just ain't gonna break. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's our last sort of question that we answer is, and then we'll move on to, we're going to do the speed round. I'm going to make you guys both share the speed round.
I like it.
Let's answer that question. How do we, I just had this conversation yesterday with someone. How do you know when it's time to either pivot or to say, this isn't going to work, right? How long do you wait? And also, I think that there's something here about being able to recognize the difference between fear and legitimate market concern, right? So, Anthony, how do we, when do we know that wave is just never going to come?
7.5 years. No. Look, it doesn't matter.
It's very specific.
I don't think it matters. So, Effective, the agency that I started that we sold to WPP. We started that company thinking that we were going to make products, that we were going to make really solid software products because we had really great designers and really great tech. But we were going to fund those products with services. That's how we started it. We sold as a service. We never got to products because the opportunity for us to grow was just selling great technology and design, and actually became world known for being a very high quality user experience agency. So we never got to build the product. Is that a failure? Is that how do you categorize that? So if you're surviving and you're incrementally working on the thing that you really want to be working on, that's a win. And who knows, maybe if you have opportunity radar, maybe the thing that you're doing just to survive turns out to be a great business on its own. And how is that a failure?
And so I think that's where we get, when we get committed to the wrong thing, and I don't mean like the wrong idea. I mean, we get committed to the product when what we need to be committed to is the value. So if, with your agency, you probably started out saying, well, I want to do this product because I want to make this change in the world. I want to solve this problem or whatever it is. And you ended up solving the problem in a different way. If you had stayed committed to it, had to be this product, you're missing your opportunity. So I think, to your point, that opportunity focus and that needs to be fully developed inside of a founder, but also you need to sort of watch what's happening inside of your business and be focused on the value you're creating as opposed to, the thing you're building, right? Chris, I don't know how you feel about that.
This is one of the few times when we're all going to completely agree on this, but I'm just going to say it differently, which is, as a founder, you need to fall in love with the problem, not your solution. If you're dedicated, and Anthony, at Effective, you guys were not, you just were about creating beautiful and smart and thoughtful user experiences in a time when nobody else was thinking about that. And you stayed committed to that through the entire history of UI, to the point where it's something you're still committed to solving to this day. It's not, you don't fall out of love with a problem. You can absolutely fall out of love with your individual solution to that problem. And that could be, that could be hard to decide what the differences are.
And it was really a simple thing. It's like, I didn't want software to suck anymore. That was literally our mission statement. We don't want software to suck.
And you could see it too. It was such a clear and obvious thing. There is one other piece here, Stephanie, and this is very practical and tactical advice. When I'm in a company, I oftentimes start to ignore everything else that's going around me. I ignore market conditions. I don't read reports. I don't pay attention to my competitors, which is very short-sighted. And so to answer your question directly, you can stay in love with a problem, with the size of this market, the opportunity there, but you also need to make sure that every once in a while you pick your head up and look around what's going on around you. Maybe another technology came in and disrupted. Imagine starting, and everybody just pivoted at AI companies, but imagine starting a company that was an awesome solution to a problem that you got very deep in that didn't include AI 2.5 years ago, right? And now suddenly AI is there. If you weren't paying attention to the macro trends, impossible to not pay attention to AI. But if you weren't paying attention to how those market, what was changing technology wise, you were going to miss that boat. And I think probably a ton of companies did.
Yeah, you just got to you guys have to embed the letters AI in all of your.
That's right.
The back
That's
end
because
of your SEO.
How to Founder is now with AI.
That's what I was going to say. Since the three of us are here, can we just go ahead and say howtofounder.ai? Can we get the UI?
All right. I need to buy that domain, actually.
Awesome conversation. Awesome conversation as usual. Brilliant ideas. Every now and then, you guys really surprise me.
Occasionally they came from us too.
That's right. All right, we're going to do the speed round. I'm going to make each of you answer a question, and then we will wrap up from there. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Do you need a moment to get emotionally ready? Okay.
I'm good.
Chris is zen. It's such dramatic music. Okay, Chris, you're on first. Wait for perfect data or launch with
launch.
It should be 20% confidence.
Exactly.
Okay, maybe you're both going to answer all these questions. All right, trust your gut instinct or market research?
Do I go again? I would say research.
I would say research too, but that's not what I do.
Your research informs your gut.
Exactly right.
Yeah, be careful.
Launch early and iterate or polish before release.
Early.
Okay.
Launch early.
Polish before release. Who came up with
Anthony?
that?
I didn't. I just now got that.
Trust your gut instinct or launch early or iterate or polish before.
It's been a while since.
What's your answer, Chris?
I mean,
emotional, damn it.
So much for
the speed round.
Yeah. Launch early, Stephanie, is the correct answer.
Next time you don't respond to my text.
As Chris's wife,
polishing before release. Okay. Follow.
Sorry.
Man.
Follow competitor timing or ignore them completely.
Ignore them completely.
I say follow. Like you should pay attention.
Ignore your competitors completely.
Pay no attention to competition. Seek validation or build in stealth. Now you're middle-aged white men, so seek validation. We know that that's a priority for you. But
Stephanie, I don't know. What do you think I'm doing?
So many levels.
Yeah, how am I doing, Stephanie? Is this all right?
I really like your hair today, Chris.
Thank you. I need it. Yes.
Seek validation or build in stealth.
Seek validation.
Validation.
Of course. Yes. All right. You guys, we made it. I didn't get to tell you my dad joke though.
Okay.
Okay. So you want to hear it? This is actually a joke.
You're
My
oversetting
dad
it up.
used to tell me.
You're setting it up way too much.
It's a double
No,
dad
this
joke.
is
I love it.
actually a joke my dad used to tell me. So this is in homage to him. What has 4 wheels and flies?
I don't know what has 4 wheels and flies.
A garbage truck.
A garbage truck. Ba-doom. All right. Are we doing founder fundamentals today? What did you guys get out of the conversation today? Let's
Chris,
just
do you have founder fundamentals written down?
I don't, but I'll just go through them. Number 1 is fall in love with the problem. Don't fall in love with your solution. Be aware of when market forces like technology are coming together to actually create opportunities. Constantly pay attention to what's happening within the market. Don't let Anthony's AI write any of the speed round questions about polishing of things. I think, Anthony, what'd you learn?
I wrote down 2 quick things. Timing is about when distribution meets tech, meets partner pain, meets what rules you're trying, and also what rules are you willing to try to break.
Yeah.
And then find a way to survive, to extend your opportunity off ramp.
Yeah, love it. All right. We have a few deep dive resources for this show today. I'm sorry to everyone who had to sit through it, but this is if you want more information, if you'd like to dig in a little bit further. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. That's a classic. The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It was honestly the book that just kicked me off into all of this stuff. I would highly recommend it.
It's the most must read.
Yeah.
Like you have to read.
Yeah. Decisive by Chip Heath and Sprint by Jack Knapp. We can only have books on this list that have 1-word titles. I know. We'll put those in the show notes. All right. Awesome discussion today, you guys. Chris, do you want to close us off?
Absolutely. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Stephanie. This is a terrific conversation. By the way, Anthony did, because our guest canceled. Anthony came in with about a minute to spare, just jumped in, and really, it just looked like you were that prepared, Anthony. Great job. Thank you so much for being involved. Visit howtofounder.com. Connect with us on all the places, LinkedIn, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We believe, Anthony and Stephanie, that you are the pioneers of economic prosperity, and we're genuinely grateful to be there along with you on that way. Appreciate it. We'll see you on Monday for another fun-filled episode. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great week. Bye.